Chulalongkorn, the greatest king of Siam, the lightning-fast reformation and the diplomatic chess match, amidst a pack of colonial wolves. Introduction. The lone kingdom amidst the storm. Let us look at the map of Southeast Asia in the late 19th century. It is an almost monochromatic picture. Burma and Malaya are painted in the pink of the British Empire. Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos are covered in the blue of French colonialism. An entire vast region had fallen into the hands of Western powers. But between those two giant pincers, there is a kingdom that still retains its own color, a nation that miraculously remained independent. That is the Kingdom of Siam, or Thailand today. This extraordinary survival was not a stroke of historical luck. It was the result of a great revolution led by one of the most enlightened and far-sighted kings, King Chulalongkorn, also known as Rama V. This is not just a story of diplomacy. This is an epic of a race against time, of a king who had to personally dismantle the ancient kingdom of his forefathers to build a modern nation, one strong enough to stand firm before the colonial wolves who were waiting to tear his homeland apart. Chapter 1. The Legacy and the Challenge. The young king on an ancient throne. King Chulalongkorn ascended the throne in 1868 at the age of just 15. The kingdom he inherited was wealthy, but also ancient and outdated. Siamese society at that time still operated under the Dynasty system, a feudal-like class system that had existed for hundreds of years, where a person's status and power were measured by the amount of land they were permitted to own. Slavery was still widespread. Real power lay largely in the hands of powerful aristocratic families. His father, King Mongkut or Rama IV, was a pioneering reformer. He had cautiously opened the country and recognized the necessity of learning from the West. It was King Mongkut who did something decisive for the future. He invited British tutors, most famously Anna Leonovans, to educate his children, including Prince Chulalongkorn. Thanks to this, Chulalongkorn grew up with a completely different worldview. He was not only fluent in Buddhist scriptures and Siamese history, he was also proficient in English, science, and European political thought. He understood the terrifying power of the Western nations, and he knew that if Siam did not change, it would be crushed. During the first years of his reign, because he was too young, power was held by a powerful regent from the Bunig clan. But throughout that time, the young king never stopped learning and secretly prepared for the greatest revolution in the nation's history. Chapter 2. The Revolution from Above. Smashing the old, building the new. Once he held full power in his hands in 1873, King Chulalongkorn began a comprehensive revolution, a demolish and rebuild of the state itself, the abolition of slavery. One of his greatest and most humane reforms was the abolition of slavery. He did this wisely and gradually to avoid provoking a civil war. He enacted laws in stages, slowly reducing the power of slave owners and finally declaring that all people born on Siamese soil were free. This act not only liberated millions of people, it shattered the foundation of the old Dynasty system and created a free labor force for a new economy. Administrative reform. He dismantled the old feudal system of governance, where local lords held power like minor kings. In its place, he established 12 ministries modeled on the European system, with ministers directly responsible to the king. He built a centralized, modern, and efficient administration, for the first time turning Siam into a truly unified nation-state. Comprehensive modernization. A series of other reforms were carried out at a dizzying pace. He commissioned the first railways and telegraph lines, connecting Bangkok with the provinces. He established a modern postal service, reformed the taxation and financial systems, and built an army trained and equipped in the European style. All of these reforms had a common goal: to prove to the Western powers that Siam was a civilized nation, a modern state, not a backward land that needed to be protected or civilized. It was a race to save the nation. Chapter 3. Walking between two fires. The chess match with Britain and France. While carrying out this internal revolution, King Chulalongkorn had to play an extremely tense game of diplomatic chess. The Kingdom of Siam was stuck between two colonial giants, the British Empire to the west, which had taken Burma and Malaya, and French Indochina to the east. Both wanted to expand their influence and annex Siam. Chulalongkorn's foreign policy was a masterpiece of cunning and pragmatism. He turned Siam's critical weakness of being stuck in the middle into an advantage, skillfully playing the British and French against each other so that neither side could seize Siam without risking a war with the other. But to preserve the independence of his core territory, he had to pay incredibly painful prices. He was forced to sign unequal treaties and cede large territories. He ceded large parts of Laos and portions of Cambodia to France. He ceded the northern Malay sultanates to Britain. These were incredibly difficult decisions, but they were strategic sacrifices. He accepted the loss of peripheral lands to protect the heart of the kingdom. The pinnacle of his diplomatic genius was his two historic tours of Europe in 1897 and 1900. He did not arrive as the king of a weak nation to beg for favors. He arrived as an equal monarch, a civilized and modern ruler. He met with Queen Victoria of Britain, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. This trip was a brilliant act of public relations. It introduced an image of a civilized and independent Siam to the world, elevating the kingdom's status and making an invasion by Britain or France much harder to justify in the eyes of the international community. Conclusion: the undying legacy of the great beloved king. King Chulalongkorn passed away in 1910 after a reign of 42 years. He had inherited a feudal, backward kingdom on the brink of being colonized. He left behind an independent, modern nation on the path to development. He is not just respected as a great reformer. He is deeply loved by the Thai people. He often traveled incognito, disguised as a commoner, to wander the country and learn about the real lives of his people. For this reason, the people honored him with the highest title, Phra Maharat, which means the great beloved king. His legacy is not just railways or legal codes. The greatest legacy of King Chulalongkorn is the very existence of modern, independent Thailand today. He was a revolutionary in a king's robes, a master diplomat, and the great architect who built modern Thailand.